I'm late posting this off when I had intended to. Just dealing with tech support. I don't recommend that any more than looking directly at the sun. Various other things, especially when you say we've done all this, and they still lead you through it. It's like we've done all this, especially, and for me, it's I did tech support, so I know exactly what to do. I can do IP config release renew. I almost guarantee that's not taught anymore with these techs. They just unplug, replug, reset. Well, I don't know. Try an IP config release renew. Nobody does it, and it works. I actually fixed our internet at one point with an IP config, but not anymore. I also want to state too at the start of this, when I upload videos, it takes roughly an hour and a half now to upload them. If it's one of these preview videos, it'll take about an hour and a half. Review videos take about an hour and a half. I have to stay up until they post. So I'm sorry for how late they post a lot of the time, but we're working on it. And if it doesn't work, I'll go back to Shaw. I never had this problem with Shaw, not once. All right. That being said, let's take a look at tonight's action. Now that that's been explained and all, the Buffalo Sabres are at home against the Ottawa Senators in a matchup between two teams that have to get a win, and one of them has to win tonight. This is the, well, somebody's got to win this kind of game. In their last 7 games, Ottawa's won 1. They've got 9 goals. Or no, this is backwards. In their last 7 games, Buffalo's won 1. They have 9 goals. In their last 4, Ottawa hasn't won, and they've been shut out 3 times. So that's bad. There's no way around it. And Condon's starting tonight against Leonard, so go ahead and make your bets. Leonard's actually got better stats than Anderson this year, so having Condon in net is not a downgrade for Ottawa. I've also got some interesting stats for each team today. For Ottawa, it's Bobby Ryan's 20 games, 1 goal, 8 assists, 9 points. I talked about it yesterday on the Ottawa video. Sam Reinhart for Buffalo, 30 games, 5 goals, 6 assists, 11 points. You want trade bait in Buffalo, he's it. He's the guy who looks like if he gets the right trade to the right team, maybe he turns things around. Maybe it'll be his time. But until then, we'll continue to talk about how he's not producing the way he was supposed to at the draft. And if you want to look at where Buffalo is and the fact that they've got 9 goals in 7 games, Reinhart needs to be pitching in where he isn't. And I don't know. You can't blame it on a coach now. This isn't Bilesma. He's gone. So you got Housley in there who should be better for offense. Housley's widely regarded as this defenseman that scored a ton of goals. The funny part of that is there was a period in time where he actually played forward. For the Jets, he played forward for a while. He played forward with Buffalo for a bit. Phil Housley's not just a defenseman. Now, in terms of who's going to win this game, your guess is as good as mine. My bet actually would probably go towards Buffalo. Because Buffalo, you know, Ottawa's just so miserable right now. It is a horrible atmosphere. And now we're starting to get into, well, let's see what Pierre Dorian has got rid of and what he's got. Yeah, that video's coming. I might as well pile on and do what I did with Pierre Dorian, what I did with Mark Bergevin and with Jim Benning. And I'll go ahead and pile on a little bit, I guess. But that does need to be looked at. Absolutely. LA and New Jersey. Here we go. 8 wins in a row for LA. 2 losses in a row for New Jersey. They've allowed 10 goals in those 2 losses. Schneider's starting for New Jersey. Quick starting for LA. LA is sitting first in their division. And New Jersey's the #1 wild card in the East. In terms of surprising numbers, it's UC Okonen's last year. 27 games, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. There's no way he comes back and plays another year after this one. I'd be very surprised if he did. He's winding down a good career. I'm not trying to call him out here. I'm surprised by Zacha. So, New Jersey's had a really relatively good season so far. And that's probably understating it a little bit. The #1 wild card is because they're in the Metro. But Zacha has only got 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points in 22 games. If Zacha ever starts to become an offensive force, or even 60 points, 55, 60 points style force, they could be even better. They could be scary. So Jersey is looking to turn things around, and LA is coming into town. If you want an upset, if it qualifies as an upset, I would probably take New Jersey in this one. I do think that while LA's been playing fantastic hockey and they've been great, Jersey is I think better than their record over the last few games, and I think they'll show that. All right, Toronto and Jersey. Toronto and Philly. The Philadelphia Flyers have won 3 in a row, but those were on the road and all in Western Canada. Toronto's won 3 in a row, and they're without Austin Matthews, and now there's some rumblings about a possible concussion for Austin Matthews. If Austin Matthews is out with a concussion, it will negatively impact Toronto. I'm aware they're 5-0 without Matthews. I'm well aware they're 5-0 without Matthews. They've played very well without Austin Matthews in the lineup, but it does change them quite a bit. Anderson starting against Elliott. Over the 3-game winning streak for Philly, they only allowed 5 goals in Edmonton, Calgary, and Vancouver. And, I really think Philly's played well, but this is their test. It's 4th Canadian team in a row. This is their test. Marner's the number that I brought up here, 31 games. He's playing much better lately. 2 goals, 17 assists, 19 points. The 19 points in 31 games isn't bad. The 2 goals is surprising. He's getting a lot of chances. They are going to start going in. They have to. And Nolan Patrick's the one that Hextall's come out and said he's a kid. He's defending Patrick. 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points in 20 games. Again, it comes down to sometimes with these rookies, they're graded against other people in their class as a rookie, which to me is kind of strange. You want to look at it 3 years down the road and see who's where. I think it's way too early to be writing off Nolan Patrick. But in this day and age with sports being now, and what have you done for us lately, I can understand that's a fear for Philly fans right now, that maybe Patrick is a flop or a bust. And it's not the fans as much as the media that's going to make a deal about it. That's usually the case. But it'll be interesting to see how this game turns out. I don't know if it would qualify as an upset if Philly beat Toronto, but it wouldn't surprise me if Philly pulled this one off either. Okay, Colorado and Washington. So it's the Varlamov Cup. Semyon Varlamov was drafted by Washington. They traded him out. They got back a haul of draft picks from Colorado that I don't think Colorado would do again if they had to do it over. But either way, Varley's there now. They've won their last 2. And in their last 13 at home, Washington's won 11. Washington's been dominant. Holtby's the likely starter for Washington at last I looked. The numbers I went with are both Wilson in this one. Colin Wilson for Colorado came over from Nashville. Oh, it's a fresh start. 20 games, 2 goals, 4 assists, 6 points. Nope. While Yakupov has taken full advantage of that fresh start, Wilson has not. I don't think Wilson has the offensive acumen. I think he's been miscast as an offensive forward for a while. I could see him settling into a Manny Malhotra-style role if he can ever get that face-off mastery that Malhotra had. And for Washington, I gave up on Tom Wilson, and apparently it hurt his feelings and he turned his career around. Yeah, that's not why. 27 games, 5 goals, 10 assists, 15 points. I have always believed Wilson had offensive potential, and that his being cast as an enforcer held him back from that role. And right now, he's getting the minutes in Washington, and I hope he keeps them. I know he plays on the edge. I know he's a dirty player, but Wilson also has a decent set of hands, and he's a smart player, and he's not a defensive liability. You look at enforcers of days gone by who would not make the NHL now, almost all to a fault were defensive liabilities. There was the odd rare exception, but Wilson is not an offensive or defensive liability for the Capitals. And they're 3rd in their division. So with a win tonight, maybe they move up. We'll see. I don't like to handicap anything in that division because it's such a tough division to look at and figure out. And oh hey, it's Columbus. They've won 2 in a row, and the Oilers are 1-2 in their last 3. Bressois playing again. It's a lot of games. Bressois played really well his last couple. Bobrovsky likely starts for Columbus. The interesting numbers here to me are Strome, 30 games, 4 goals, 9 assists, 13 points. He has been better lately than he was at the beginning, but still, those totals do not equal Everly levels, and it's one of those things that kind of haunts Chiarelli, especially considering their record hasn't been good this year either. And Nick Foligno, 30 games, 6 goals, 6 assists, 12 points. The remarkable thing to me with Columbus is that they're getting these wins and they're still holding their own, even though both Atkinson and Foligno have not been at the right level. And Atkinson, did I hear right? He was a healthy scratch by John Tortorella. When Tortorella decides he has you in your crosshairs, you don't have any. You have two choices: you get better or you get benched. And if we're at that point with Atkinson, I don't know how much Atkinson's going to be happy about signing an extension in Columbus. And while Columbus is winning, it's not like Tortorella's going to go anywhere. That's his team. So get with the program, or I guess get out. I guess that's how this is going to go. We'll see. And again, for the Oilers, it's just they're the Oilers. Tampa, St. Louis. So this is a matchup between two first-place teams. Vasilevsky with the Tampa Bay Lightning is likely the starter tonight. I'd be very surprised if they didn't go with Vasilevsky. And Allen is the starter for St. Louis. Both teams come into this game with a 4-game winning streak. Both have been playing very well. Interesting numbers to me. Killorn, 29 games, 3 goals, 14 assists, 17 points. I remember at the start of last season, I was always surprised by how Alex Killorn would come in and get the big goal when they needed it. And seeing him with 3 goals in 29 games and their first in the league is surprising to me. Because Killorn was a clutch guy a year ago, and that seems to have faded now. And Braden Shen is the story in St. Louis. Now that Jaden Schwartz is on the IR, and Alex Pietrangelo has been added to the IR. Schmaltz has been called up. This could get ugly for St. Louis. Tampa could win this one big with both Pietrangelo and Schwartz out. I got Schultz, Schmaltz, Schwartz in my head. Like wait, which one is it? But Shen's 31 games, 16 goals, 21 assists, 37 points. Fantastic showing by Braden Shen. And those are the kind of totals that I think Philly would take in a heartbeat. Not that Braden Shen would put up 37 points in 31 games in Philly. That's part of his problem in Philly. Now he doesn't have a problem, and he's in St. Louis. We'll see how long that continues. We'll see if the Blues can weather 2 major injuries at the same time. Both Pietrangelo and Schwartz. Yeah, that's right. I still had Schmaltz and Schultz in my head. It's just too many. I remember when they had Schmaltz and drafted Schwartz, or whichever one they drafted first and then the other, and I looked at that and I went, oh, really? You got to have both of them on the same team? This is awful. And then, of course, the Letterkenny side of me is like Schmeltz. So I get Schmeltz in my head. Every time anybody named Schmaltz touches the puck, or Schultz, I say Schmeltz. So it just, Letterkenny just buggers that up even worse. All right, Calgary. Let's get into the Flames. Let's get into Minnesota. Calgary's won their last 2. Minnesota's 4-1 in their last 5. So Minnesota's starting to put together a run. They're 1 point out of the playoffs. Calgary's the second wild card. So for Calgary to keep their spot, they have to beat Minnesota tonight. Dubnyk's the starter. Smith's the starter. Interesting numbers. Troy Brouwer, 30 games, 2 goals, 6 assists, 8 points. He is the most likely to be traded in Calgary if somebody will take that contract. And I'm surprised nobody has, to be honest. Brouwer's a guy who's proven himself to be capable of coming up with a big goal when you need it in a bit important game. And it just doesn't work in Calgary. It hasn't worked from day one. I kind of wonder if, with all the forward problems the Canucks are having right now, if maybe they'll give Calgary a call and see what's shaking. It's not like Brouwer's going to come back to haunt Calgary in a month or two with Vancouver. Cullen is the story right now in Minnesota. So he was going home to Minnesota to retire. He's 41, 28 games, 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points so far. The feel-good story of him going to Minnesota, it just hasn't worked. And now there's rumors that with him being a healthy scratch, Maybe Pittsburgh's gonna come calling to get him back. I don't know though with that one. To me, it feels like they moved on from Cullen, and I'm not sure if 41-year-old Matt Cullen, with the way he's been playing this year, is the answer for Pittsburgh. They brought in Sheehan to be the answer. They moved out Wilson. Wilson's gone. Like, I don't know that Cullen would be right now an upgrade on what Pittsburgh has in their lineup. Do I think they'll take that chance? Absolutely. Absolutely, I think it can happen. And it could be one of those moves that happens before the roster freeze on the 19th. But I'm skeptical in terms of whether or not it'll happen. I'm very skeptical. Because I don't see him as an upgrade on anything that Pittsburgh's got going on right now. I really don't. But we'll see, and again, you want that feel-good story, so if Cullen went back to Pittsburgh, rediscovered his scoring touch, better than 1 goal in 28 games scoring touch, and if he was just that solidifying bottom six forward that Pittsburgh seems to need right now, who knows, maybe there's a third Stanley Cup in 3 years in the offing. It'd be the ultimate way to retire, of course, which is why I kind of expected him to retire last spring. It has to be kind of odd for him. He's sitting out, and maybe someday in a memoir he'll say he wished he'd retired after that second cup. We'll find out. At that point, that's quite a ways off, if that happens at all. Florida and Chicago. So Florida's coming in 2-2-2 in their last 6. Chicago's won 2 in a row. Reimer is highly likely to be the starter for Florida. Crawford's the starter for Chicago. Interesting stat numbers. Check out Haley. He's got 2 goals in 30 games. That equals a career high. Michael Haley is 1 away. And I got to say, the second goal was pretty. That was pretty. It was kind of surprising to me that Haley was the one that tapped that in. Because, you know, it would look like a nice goal. And they said, Haley with the goal. And I'm like, Haley? Really? That was Haley. And the interesting number here is Seabrook. Chicago fans want to get rid of him. Get rid of that contract. Get rid of that cap hit. And he's still there. 30 games, 1 goal, 9 assists, 10 points. It's not a great situation, I don't think, for anybody. I know Seabrook likely hears a lot of the rumors. And I'm not sure if it's just rumors. Because I would imagine if somebody came in with a reasonable offer, Seabrook would be moved. I would imagine. Chicago sits 1 point out of the playoffs. They need this. Because Minnesota's 1 point out of the playoffs. They need to keep up with Minnesota. Central is deadly. I've said that before, haven't I? Yeah, the Central is a pretty deadly division. And finally, in their first meeting of the year, their first meeting in history, it's Carolina and Vegas. So the Hurricanes and the Golden Knights. Of course, Carolina's nowhere near the playoffs. Vegas is second. If I'd said at the start of the year, hey, Carolina and Vegas are going to play each other, one of them would be second in the division at the time this happens, you guys would have been like, wow, Carolina's going to be second? That's great. Good for them. Nope. They're 6 points out of the playoffs right now. Ward's likely the starter. Fleury is back. Now, how well is Fleury going to play? Is Fleury going to be better than Subban long term? Like till the end of the year long term? Could we see a goaltending controversy if Fleury has a couple of bad starts? This is where the fun really begins. Now that Vegas is healthy, they've got Fleury, they've got Subban. They're good. They're good. And that's scary for the rest of the NHL because they were already top 5 without all those guys. Justin Falk is the one that stands out to me. 29 games, 1 goal, 6 assists, 7 points for Carolina. I think you expect more from him. And their defense in general, I've said it before, and I know Carolina fans don't like it, but I really thought more was expected of that blue line than they've produced so far. And in Vegas, who are on a 4-game winning streak, while Carolina's on a 4-game losing streak, Marchessault is right now, for me, the story with Vegas. 26 games, 10 goals, 16 assists, 26 points. Again, I don't know what Florida was thinking by letting go of Marchessault and Smith. Smith has 18 points as well. That's 44 points already, and those are 44 points that Florida decided they didn't want. They didn't have to expose Marchessault. They didn't have to trade Smith. I don't get it. I know it was cost-cutting. I know people say cost-cutting, but Marchessault's on a very reasonable cap hit right now. Yeah, he'll get a big raise in the offseason because he's going to deserve it. And giving away a star player because he's going to cost you more money in a year and a half, that's baffling and bewildering to me. Just baffling. So Marchessault proving himself again with his second team. And Carolina could be a victim tonight. This could absolutely be an ugly game. I could see Vegas winning big. Vegas is really, really good at home. And now they've started getting good on the road. So Vegas could get better. If I had to make picks tonight, it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. But there are some interesting storylines. Let me know what storyline interests you the most. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. And hey, thank you for watching if you made it till the end. Oh, that's a lot of games. It's 9 games. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but I don't drink pop during videos anymore for the most part. And yeah, I'm feeling it right now in my throat. So I'm going to fix that and get ready for more. But that's it for this for now, and thank you for watching.